Do you sometimes find yourself standing on the riverbank watching others catch fish on dry while you don't? Or do you hear a lot from people how great dry fly fishing is, but you can't just do it without getting in a bad mood, things doesn't work out, you get tangles, flies doesn't float, fish break off, you miss the takes? Well, I work as a fly fishing guide here on Iceland. We are fishing in River Tungnau now. This is dry fly paradise for Arctic char and brown trout. I'm gonna talk today about some simple advice that I teach to my guests when I'm out to be able to have a more enjoyable dry fly fishing. So if you hate dry fly fishing, this video is exactly for you. When you look for an appropriate fly line for dry fly fishing, I would prefer a short belly fly line, but it doesn't have to be something dedicated for dry fly fishing. You can definitely go with what you have already. So if you have a 4-weight or 5-weight or a 6-weight and you have a floating line, you should definitely just go with that. And from there, what I use is a tapered leader. This is a 4x leader. So it is 4x in dimension in the end, and it's 12 foot. So quite a long leader. From there, I extended with like, can it be 5 foot of 4x tippet. And after that, I put on a tippet ring. There goes a small tag to one fly and a longer tag to another fly. The reason why I do this is because I want to be able to have drag-free drifts when I'm fishing in moving waters, and also have like a nice presentation that the flies land smoothly on the water. And you accomplish that by having a long leader. I think many people would say, "Bah, that's a crazy long leader. How can you fish with that?" Well, for me actually it needs to be quite windy or so for me to shorten this, because I enjoy it so much to be able to have the long leader, have the nice drift of the flies. Here on Iceland, the insect life is like, it is incredible. The fish has so much to choose from to eat. So if something moves unnaturally, it doesn't matter if it looks exactly like the insect. If it drags a little bit on the surface, being pulled by the fly line, the fish won't eat it. So the natural drift is super important, and I would say it's like that in every water. Sometimes they're more forgiving with it, but if you can do a natural drift for the flies, it is well worth it. And I think that's why you see so many like experienced dry fly fishers fish long leaders up to 2 rod lengths. The wind is not really slowing down, so I'll just do some presentations here where I've seen the fish rising before. There we go. It took literally one cast to get this. This is a big fish here. This is crazy. Okay, here we go. Gonna reel this in. Crazy good Arctic char here. Now this fish took on the upper fly. The reason why I fish 2 flies is just to be able to have the possibility to experiment with different flies, as well as that they can often be quite picky. Sometimes they just take one certain thing, and then it can be good to have a couple of different options to try around with, trying to crack the code. But this is so strong, and it just makes the having 2 flies on the leader just makes your fishing so much more effective. The one that I would not recommend this to fish 2 flies is if you get like a lot of tailing loops and stuff on the leader. Then you still need a bit of a casting practice before you start fishing 2 flies. But otherwise, you're good to go. It's gonna be at least like 30% more effective to have another fly on the leader as well. It's like a Arctic char close to 50 centimeters going into the net there. Awesome. I mean, yeah, I chose a good spot here, but we have a fantastic river here, just full of Arctic char like this. I don't know if you saw during the fight, but I have the end of the fly line all the way in here between the rings. But when I make this just simple knot at the end of the fly line, I'm able to fish these long leaders without any problem. If a fish runs out again, the end of the fly line here is not going to get caught in the rings, even though I have single rod guides here. So things are going to go smooth and nice. I would not like to have a loop-to-loop connection there. That is so annoying. One of the things that I used to hate about dry fly fishing, but it's an easy fix. Another thing you should have, I think, when it comes to dry fly fishing is a catch and release tool. Like this, the fly is loose. Dry flies can be quite delicate, so if you use your plier to unhook your dry flies, it's easy to destroy them. And you can bend the hook and stuff, so I like these release tools. It is nice for the fish, you don't have to touch it even, and you can save your flies that way. So here we have this beautiful Arctic char caught on dry. I thought I lost my opportunity here for a fish on dry when the wind picked up, but man, just first cast and he slams it. It is incredible. So catching a fish is a great transition to talk about what chemicals and accessories that I bring when I'm out dry fly fishing. And it's very simple, don't you worry. To make my flies float on the surface, I have only two things with me. And that is a floatant on a bottle and a dry shake. The way I use floatant is to just take a little bit on my finger and just stroke like on the fly, just a little bit on the parts that I want to float. And that I only do when the fly is dry and comes from the fly box. After a catch like this, it's completely useless. This is like an impregnation for the fly. But now this fly is wet. It just have caught a fish. So it is like covered with fish slime. But you can both have the scenario that it just simply doesn't float because it started dragging, you used it a lot, so it's just sinking. But most of the time when it's starting to float low on the surface is that you caught fish on it. Let's give this a treatment now to make it float really high. So the only product that I use after I fished with a fly is a dry shake. Take it directly on the leader into the dry shake. Shake it a little bit. Then you have a lot of powder on the fly. Preferably, if you have some dry fingers, you can squeeze a little bit on the fly. Usually that helps to push out some water out of the fly, and it will float like crazy. But normally, if I would have caught a fish, I would just try to get it wet by the water. So you simply just hold it in the water and just give it a little shake or so, or rub the fly a little bit in the water just to get the fish slime out of the fly. And then what they should do is just to take out a little bit of line and do like whipping motion like this. I feed out some line, you know, I've been reeling in now to catch because I caught a fish. Then just do some whip cast like this to dry the fly, and then I can put it out again. It usually floats a lot better. Here is the next fish. Let's see if this one will go up and take. It's in the same freaking place. See if I can turn the camera a bit in this direction. I don't know, is that in frame? I think so. Here we go. There. I'm on. This seems to be a little bit smaller fish I thought, but wow, it's just going now. Okay, might be quite a nice fish. I was wrapped, the fly line went around the reel and the fish just went. Okay, now it's going the other way. Typical Arctic char, just trying to catch up with the fish now. It's going this way like crazy. I'm just reeling. Oh, it's over here now. Okay, from almost being on backing, it's back at my feet now. That would not be possible if I didn't have a large arbor reel. Wow. It's not a crazy big fish either. They're just so freaking strong, these fish. Insane. I mean, didn't I tell you this is dry fly heaven? So now I just reel in the leader into the rod to be able to steer this fish into the net. You want about a rod length of line out to do that. The whole camera is crooked and everything is starting to become a mess here. But wow, what conditions we have. It is just fantastic. There. Flies out. This is the Mark Petition release tool. It is bending. It's just a little practice to thread in the leader, but once you get the hang of it, it is awesome. I thought I was gonna lose it, but managed. Thanks to that large arbor reel, I could keep a bit of tension on it. Super important when you fish barbless hooks, be able to keep that tension. The Arctic char is rising very carefully and just kiss the surface, but they are all over. See how subtle that was? There we go, another fly, to a fish, and we're on. I could just hand pick which fish I want to catch here right now. Absolutely world-class fishing. Try to move a little bit further away here so you can see more how I work when fighting the fish. Doing the last procedure of the landing. To shorten the fight, you can't do so much like in this part of the fight here, when it's just going, running and shaking his head and wants to go the other direction. Something I used to tell my guests is that when you hook a fish on light tippet like you do on let's see if that what happened there. Yeah, the flies are still here, but what can happen when you fish on light tippet is that it breaks off. That's actually very common that we see on our that our guests do. It's the most common thing to lose a fish here because they are so freaking strong, as you've seen. So I used to tell my guests that when they hook a fish, the first 30 to 60 seconds, don't think anything about bringing the fish into the net. Just have the tension of the rod, like have a good flex to the rod and see what the fish does a little bit. The leader is so thin, so it could have broken off. I thought almost that I broke off there when I hooked that fish, but no, apparently both flies are here. Just came loose. But after that, you can, like after those 60 seconds or 30, depending on like when you start to get the feel of the size of the fish and you're in a little bit of control, then as soon as the fish has its head towards you, you can start to put more pressure. If it turns and swims the other way, you just have to let it go that direction and just have the patience. It can be that you get it close to you and the fish turns and start running. You need to have the patience then. Don't think about like, oh, it's almost in the net, let's just get in the last part. If it has to head in the wrong direction, just let it swim until it turns and then you can keep pressuring it. And the moment when you get the head of the fish outside of the water, just do anything that you can to keep it there so you can net it. Because if it has its cheek above the surface, it can't do much. It can't fight and start swimming away again. So that's an important tip to shorten the fight of these fish. We don't want to over fight the fish here, like to do the fight super long. The water temperature is super low and it's rich of oxygen in the water, so the fish is usually all right. Catch release works great here. We see such good survival rates on the fish. We see the fish the day after. We're at the same places every day, so we see that the fish will still be there. Catch and release is definitely working, but try to get the fight as short as possible. And I got a bit of criticism that I recommended a 4-weight rod. People say, oh, you can't fight fish on that effectively enough. Think about the fight of the fish. But I would say it's more technique than it is the class of the rod. I feel I can put almost more pressure on a fish when I have a rod that is really flexing, because it dampens the head shakes. So if you have a lighter rod like a 4-weight, it is totally fine to use. Flies are floating really bad. They're getting chewed. Okay, where do we have the next fish? I don't know, let's... Oh, there's one. Is that in camera? I don't know. So let's say now that you adapt these changes to the equipment that I recommended here. Oh wow, there's fish even here. You still don't get the fish to take. There is some advice that you maybe don't get on other places, and one of them I would definitely say is fish smaller flies than you think. If you, for example, see a caddis or a mayfly sit on the surface and the fish eats it, you take it up and look at it and you match the exact insect, you cast out an imitation of that and the fish doesn't take. What is wrong? I would say try to make if you see a natural insect on the water, choose an imitation that is slightly smaller in general, especially if you get refusals. Like if you put out a fly that looks like the real thing that you see on the surface and they don't take, try to go smaller than the real thing. Here on Iceland, it is not strange to fish with size 18, 20 and 22. Not weird at all. The flies I've caught fish on today is 18 and 20, so quite small stuff. But when you tie flies specifically for Iceland, make sure to do them on strong hooks, because especially when you go down on these small hook sizes, you have to think about like a little bit which fish you're gonna catch. If you have the chance to catch like a 2 kilo, translation would be 4 pound fish, a normal dry fly hook is usually gonna straighten them because it's too weak. So I tie my dry flies usually on the Hanak 230 BL. It's a barbless hook. That is a wet fly hook that is okay to use as dry fly hook as well. But yeah, we tie a lot on wet fly hooks or nymph hooks. They are just heavier goods and is able to catch bigger fish on. But I was very specific about Iceland. I feel there's so much to talk about when talking dry fly fishing. Okay, I can't just do a dry fly movie and say that, oh, you make a long leader, you don't have to mend. Well, I'm gonna show a little bit how to mend properly, so you have as nice of a drift as possible. It's a little bit hard because I have some riffles here. The surface is a little bit disturbed, so it's hard to see the flies and the fly line. But what you want to do is that when you put out the fly, if there is some weird currents and you find that, okay, the fly is dragging, usually what you need to do is an upstream mend, because you place the fly in quite slow moving water. Maybe the line is sitting in faster moving water, so it goes faster than the flies itself. Then you have to do like an upstream mend. You have two options. You can do either like a mend when the flies are on the water, you make a mend, or you can make a mend beforehand. You make the cast and you reach up, so you make the mend beforehand, like before the line lands on the water. It's more of a subtle thing, and it works really great. That's called an air mend or a reach mend. You can just search up like casting videos for that. I will try to link one down in the video description as well for that. If you just do a normal mend, I would say that place the fly out, and as soon as the fly lands, you throw a mend, a big one. And then after that, you can do 1 or maybe 2 mends, and it should be just affecting the closest to your rod. You cannot mend the whole line because the leader and stuff is going to be starting to straighten out, and what you don't want to do is affect the dry fly out there. The flies should move naturally with the current, so when you do the first mend, it is okay if the fly moves a little bit. Preferably it shouldn't, but it's okay. But then the second one needs to be careful here, just the closest thing, and it should be like a little flick of the wrist, flick like this. It is the best I can do in this scenario. It's not the best lighting conditions and you have the waves here, so I hope that was enough as a mending school for here. Yeah, it's I just don't want to say that mending is not something you should do. You should definitely mend in scenarios where you struggle with having a good drift of the flies. But having a longer leader, doing a little bit of an air mend, that I would say is the pro way of doing it. When you have a fish rising, you need to, oh, that was not my fly. They're hard to see. You need to place the flies upstream of the fish, because they are planning ahead, looking for what is coming on the surface above them. So you can't just in a river place the fish or place the fly right on top of the fish. Now I lifted for hook set on when it took another insect. Let's see if I spooked this one. No, I did not. There it is. So you saw there how I placed the fly above the fish, and that's the way to get them to be on the hook. Otherwise you're gonna struggle a lot if you just place the fly right on the rises when we talk about river fishing. Nothing's gonna happen. Oh, I keep losing the fish now. It came off. Went almost out on backing and then it came off. But that was incredible. I got the best part. I got the take and got the first run here. It's just incredible. I don't know the size of that. It was probably a similar size like the other ones. And I have more fish here. It is just ridiculous. I'm on. I think the second fly is sitting a bit low on the surface now. So I just saw a small circle and I made a chance to do the hook set and I was on. So when fighting the fish, I try to hold quite a high angle with the rod, letting the head shakes like dampen with the rod, and I'm prepared if the fish is running, the brake should start going, even though I still hold the rod quite high, and I just lost another fish. Maybe over pressuring them a little bit now. I don't know, but I just need to take them a little bit more gentle, I think. Let's try to talk a little bit about making a hook set. A good advice is to make quite a short cast. A shorter cast is easier to make a hook set on than a long cast. So here I waited a little bit closer to the fish that is rising. So I just have the head length of the fly line out. And waiting for the fish to properly come up and take. And in that moment I'm gonna raise the rod. And it's almost like you just wanna, I used to describe it like you should not try to set the hook like a spin angler or something does. It should be more of just that you lift all the fly line out of the water as quickly as you can. The hooks are so thin, so it is enough to just do that. There, come on. Okay, now I'm gonna try to listen to my own advice now and just focus on having the tension on the line for the first 30 to 60 seconds. Try to get an idea of how big the fish is, and hopefully I'm able to land this one then. Don't think anything about bringing the fish in, just having the rod flexed, keeping the tension. Don't try to bring it in now. You see what the fish will do. I think I've lost like half the fish I hooked today. That's so typical what just happened there. You think you are in control of the fish, and then the char just makes a massive run like that. And then I can go quickly back as well. Still, I don't know for how long I've been fighting this fish, but still I don't think about bringing it in. I just let the fish do its thing. It tends to be that they often come closer to you just automatically after some time. Going a lot smoother already. Now I'm gonna jinx it just because I think I got it now. It's not in the net yet. It can still come off. We have a nice Arctic char again. reel in, so I have about a rod length of line out. The head is out of the water, trying to steer it in, and it's in the net. That worked a hell of a lot better when I didn't rush it in the beginning. Let the fly, or let the fish do what it was going to do, and we got it in the net. I feel there's so much to talk about when talking dry fly fishing. So yeah, I'm gonna put this out. I'm curious to hear what you think. I feel there is several different topics in fly fishing you can talk about, like this advice that I teach on my guidings. But we'll see if you enjoy this. I'm grateful that you watched until the end here, and I'm gonna keep on fishing a little bit, see if I can hook a few more. But if you want some more stuff from Iceland, I put together some of my favorite dry flies that I use here, and I've got the most fish this season. So if you want some inspiration for the fly tying desk, check out this video. See you over there.